All right, hello internets. Brian's back, and we're talking more about the Goof project. And today we're going to touch on gluing, oh no, and enhancing seam lines. So we talked a little bit in the prior video, the announcement video, about gluing some parts together and enhancing some of the various aspects related to. It's a little bright, isn't it? Let's see if I can get that back. There we go. That's better. Related to this guy. Okay. There's a lot of videos out there that talk about gluing parts together. I'm just going to go over it really quick, just as a, just for reference. So, first off, pop this guy apart here. I lost the polycap. Don't forget your polycaps. Why do you glue, right? Why would you want to glue a part together? Some people don't like gluing. There's been a little bit of talk with some of my friends online, actually in person too, about people that don't want to glue any of the parts to their kit together. They think that they shouldn't have to, glue anything together if it doesn't snap fit and stay fit and look perfect. Then blah blah blah. I look at it as just a way to make a better model, a better kit that you can actually do some cool poses with. Like a lot of times, if you're trying to do something a little bit more extreme, and you something will pop off, the back of the leg will pop off, whatever, and it's just an annoyance that you don't need to deal with all the time. So we're gonna start with gluing this pauldron together. This guy, ta-da, and this has a huge seam line on it from the molding process. The reason there is that giant seam line is because of the amount of undercut inside the piece. If they were to try to cast this, they would have to make the spikes solid, and doing that it's going to be heavy. It's a lot of plastic. That's money. It's just money thrown away. Casting it in two parts, you can still get a lot of the really good detail on it, inside and out, and it keeps the part light, which is great because a heavy model kit is not going to want to stand up. So for this particular operation, I'm going to use this orange Tamiya cement. It's a little bit of a heavier duty cement. It's not the white cement, it's the orange cement. Apparently it smells a little bit like citrus. I don't know, it smells like glue. Anyway, simple stuff. Lightly brush it on the faces. Don't put too much on. I got too much on. Don't put too much on because it is actually going to melt the surface of the plastic, which is going to help us get rid of that gigantic seam line. Put a little bit on there. Now, some people use the thin cement for everything. I like to use both kinds of cement for different applications. Thin cement is really good for getting into a little area, or if you're going to do like a glue together where you don't want a big push up on the seam, and you're not trying to fill a gap or anything like that. You can use the thin cement, which we'll go over here in a second. So, one application. I think I'm gonna put a little bit more on this other side. You can actually look at the shine in the light, and oops, careful. Shine in the light. There we go. Let me take a look there. A little bit more. All right. So we can focus. Okay. Yeah, you can kind of see that a little bit on there. All right. So I'm gonna push these two guys together. Polycap's in there. It's gonna hold that polycap in there till the end of time. So make sure that it's in there. I have glued parts together and forgot the polycap. Luckily, I was able to put it in, but all the same. So get a squeeze, and then all lined up. Almost, it wants to resist. The piece de resistance. Get some pliers here. We're going to get that guy in place. Okay, there we go. So I'll show you those pliers again in a second. They're my little helper pliers. So I'm going to give this a squeeze, and as we squeeze it, there you go. That's what you want to see, is a little ridge of molten plastic, little melted plastic and drop a pencil. There you go. That is a good solid seal. So what that's going to do is it's going to seal up and hide that seam completely. You can see even here where I smeared the glue, the sprue goo. That's the guys on the boom hut call it. There we go. Okay, that might require a little bit. It looks like I sanded there a little too much before, and I didn't get a good, didn't relieve the right kind of gapping. But all right, so basics, super basic. Polycap's still inside. Seam's good. The edge is straight. You can definitely seal something off here that add a line, and then you'll have to fix stuff, which, you know, hey, that's good. It's good practice. That's all I can say about that for sure. It's good practice. Okay, so why we glue? So that stuff like this can be solid and look really tight. Another reason, let's say up here on his bicep, you have this bicep component. This is 2 parts also because of same casting. Too much undercut, it'd be impossible. If they did it out of solid piece, it'd be really heavy. He'd have a hard time holding up this freaking thing anyways. Think about if these were heavy on his arms too. Okay, so this is a little bit of a 1-2 thing. We're going to glue this seam together, but I also want to talk a little bit about seam enhancement and then panel line enhancement. You can see right now, you can see that there is a panel line there, right here. And above that is this beautiful seam, which is part of the molding process. So I already went through, and when I was cleaning up the nubs on this piece, I went through and I chamfered, or I put a little tiny bit of a bevel with a really light sandpaper on the edge of that line to enhance it a little bit. It was kind of sharp. It didn't look really like the panels on regular Gunpla or Super Robot. Like, they just didn't look right. It didn't feel right. It felt disjointed. It looked unclean. It looked unfinished, unpolished. This is a piece of beautiful machinery. So you can see here this panel, like I was talking about, pales in comparison to this seam line. So we're going to go through, and I'm going to show you one technique for enhancing the seam here, the panel on this one, so that it can stay in line with the whole piece. But we are going to start by gluing this guy together. I'm just going to pop it apart. And then for this one, we are going to put the orange cement away, go with the extra thin cement. This stuff is really good if you already have something like a seam together. You can see the applicator is very small compared to the other one because it would just run everywhere, I assume. So we're just going to dab a little bit in here because I'm not trying to melt the seam off. I just want it to stay together for the rest of the time. A little bit on part A, a little bit on part B. And if you get it over on the edge, it doesn't matter. For me, it doesn't matter because I'm painting this whole thing. Eventually, it's got a long ways to go. So this is just the beginning. I can easily sand off. Now this stuff, this cement is pretty good because it won't really stick to your fingers like a different kind of super glues will. It will stick to your nitriles or melt the plastic to your nitriles, it looks like. Okay, here we go. We're putting this together. We're running out of time. All right. Squeeze that, but we don't want to push it too hard. All right. All right, okay. There. A little bit funky monkey, but funky chunky. Pick your favorite flavor. There we go. Glued together, but not overly done. We're gonna let that sit for a second because I know it's still cooking. So we're not going to mess with that for a minute. Let that guy sit on the side. All right, glues away. Glues aside. Simple stuff for gluing some parts together. A lot of times I'll glue different parts on the legs together if I'm going to be doing some crazy posing. Or, you know, if you have to make something last. So we're going to work on a pauldron. This is the one that we just glued together, but I did this one. Whoops. Did this one. the other day. Same deal. You can see, get the focus. Got a nice pushed up seam line on there. We're just going to, it's the same thing like I talked about in my last video. Take the old file, filing that edge down, crisscross the pattern. Unlike Ghostbusters, cross the streams, go ahead. You're not going to open a dimensional tear. I don't know what I'm talking about. All right. So I could go through and clean up this entire piece and re-demonstrate that, but I have absolutely no need to. So we're going to go on to simple panel line enhancing, and we're going to do that right here on the edge. You can see there's these nice details. We have these spikes as well. These guys are kind of nice, but they don't really pop. They look a little bit muted because you can only get so much registration out of the mold before you start to have issues. If you have too sharp a point or too deep a line, you have the potential to catch an air bubble in there. I've done a lot of molding and casting years past. I'm going to get into that with the Gunpla kits on how to mold and cast, whether it be pressure cast or regular pour, your custom parts. So if you find something that you like and you want to make two of it, like a really neat pauldron, and you want to make two of these, we'll get into that, but that's way down the road. But let's see, tools. So the tools we've got to use, standard for me, the go-to. This is a carbide tipped metal scribe for metalworking. I'm a metalworker, it's my day job, and I use this for marking steel and brass, getting your lines right, but it has this amazingly sharp tip. And as long as you don't drop that a bunch of times onto a hard concrete floor, that's going to last forever. This is a great go-to. You have your standard hobbyist hook knife. I see a lot of people use these in conjunction with some Dymo tape. Here it is. Dymo tape. What is Dymo tape? This is the tape for label makers, and this stuff is got if I can get it to focus, it's got a thickness to it and a nice hard edge that allows you to run the blade along it over and over and over and over and over again to maintain that nice straight line. You'll see a lot of panel lining videos that talk about using this stuff, and it's really good if you've got a big flat space to tack down to. It doesn't stick the best to small little curved spaces. All right, so carrying on with tools. My favorite tool is this wax carver. It's a stainless steel, standard, generic wax carver. I've actually sharpened it a bunch of times. You can see on the end it's got a bunch of work done to it. It is incredibly sharp on this end. I've stabbed myself with it. It hurts quite a bit. And then this side, the rake side, I use this for sculpting in clay, and I also use it for etching. So dragging and digging, etching. We'll do that right now, actually. Get that guy back up here. Here we go, buddy. All right, so we've got this guy. We've got this tiny little part right here. It looks really good, but if I can get its focus, it looks really good, but I want it to pop a little bit more. So I'm just going to take this pointy end, and with the lightest bit of pressure, I'm going to start to drag back and forth. And as you can see, a littlest bit of dust is forming. All right, and that, just digging out that panel line. Do it over here. Connect the lines. Go over, when you're doing this, go over the corner. Make sure you're not pushing. You don't want to push. It's not a race. Everybody's trying to get their kits built in an hour and be finished. This is a thing to enjoy and a thing to savor. The fine customization points, the fine quality that you can put into your kits. To me, that's the true joy of Gunpla. It's just the joy of building, the joy of creating something new. I sound like Bob Ross. All right. So yeah, you're getting the idea here. This tool is great for that. It does have, you can see it, it does have a flat end as opposed to this razor spearhead that's on this side. This is good if you really want to deepen. So we'll go in there. And just look at all of that dust fly out of there. You have to be careful when you're doing this so you don't go too deep and cut the entirety of the part off. But, okay. Get this up here a little bit. Yeah, baby. I love it. I absolutely love it. So we'll hit that with a little bit of that micron paper. Get in there with your thumbnail. It's one of my favorite tools is my thumbnail. All right. Yo, look at that. Popping. That is popping. That is going to catch some thinned out paint, and it's going to look stellar when it comes down to that time. All right. Moving along quickly because I don't want this to drag on too long. I don't want to kill you guys with the length of these videos. Same deal. Lightly. Just remember, you have to take your time when you get started, when you're starting to do this. Not even just like starting out in general, but even the first time you pick the piece up and you put the tool down to it. You just want to make sure that you're not rushing. As soon as you rush, or as soon as you get a little bit out of control, you're going to make an etch line that's going to cut across your flat surface. It's going to make you cry a little bit, and you're going to have to fix it. You're going to have to sand it out. You're going to have to maybe fill it and then back sand it. And oh man. So, but as you can see, same thing. Just work around the edges. I'll touch back on this. I'm not going to bore you guys by going through all of the etching and the lining on these. Here is an example of, this is the opposite side that I had already finished, I believe, right? Yes, it is. Okay, so this is the opposite side that I already finished. I went through and I etched that panel line out. Same technique. Use this little tool. Dug in there, nice and smooth. Polished it back up with sandpaper. And I went back into the crevice in here, and I worked the tool into the crevice as well. Even though it was already chamfered or beveled on both sides to make that reveal, I helped to push the plastic together a little bit, because your combination of digging and forming the plastic with the tool. So I formed the plastic back down in there to help seal up that gap and make it look more like just an appropriate panel line as opposed to a separation between two pieces. So that was where I was shooting for on that piece, and I feel pretty good. I feel like it was quite successful. All right, so I took a little bit of time off camera to work on the pauldron to get the etching nice. Oh man, that focus is just funky focus. Let's see. Where is it? There it is. Okay, there it is. Beautiful. Okay, so you can see the lining is cut in really clean, nice and deep. I went through and I did this horn on the side as well. Spike, we'll call it. I went and I etched in on, here's the other side, so you can see, not nearly as defined. I etched both the inner and outer, gosh, I don't even know what that's called. It's not a burl. What is that holds that in there? But I etched both of those, went back and I chased them with a little bit of file, and I sharpened that point because I wanted that to look really nice. Here is the same side on the other pieces. You can see that spike is nowhere near sharp. Those panel lines are there, but they're not as deep. They're nice and crisp though still. Yep, and there you go. You can see I went through and I sanded down that seam to polish that off, make it look nice and easy. Okay, that's going to wrap up this video for seaming, gluing, and panel line enhancement. I hope that you were able to pick up a couple of things in there from me to help you in your modeling endeavors. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and I will talk to you next time. You can like, comment, subscribe, share the video with your friends if they're into the hobby, or if they're just want to listen to me talk about goofy kids. There's an Instagram group that I belong to called the MS Royale, the Mobile Suit Royale. It's like I don't know. It's kind of like a build-off group. We're kind of just a bunch of guys that like to get together and make cool kits. I'll put a link to that Instagram page below. I'll also put a link to my personal Instagram page below. If you want to follow me on there, you can. Remember to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell if you want to catch new updates when I come through. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.